Welcome everyone to the Synapse Philosophy Group, and we are on D.D. Palmer's 1910. We're at page 255. We're skipping just a little bit. D.D. is going through some things about luxations and, proving what he has researched, and then, just going through some quotes from some other chiropractors. We're getting to some meat. So we're at 255 at the bottom. Then we're going to go to 256 at the bottom paragraph, and then 257 top paragraph. So I'm just going to start here. Maybe each one of us can do a little bit, but we're going to discuss these, okay? The doctor who has no patience loses none. I think that's funny, and a little bit of DD humor there. By the way, why is the food of a restaurant and hotels tasteless, lacking the relish which we find in our homes? Because their cooks have no loving interest, nothing outside of monetary value. They fail to magnetize it with an appetizing flavor, therefore tasteless. It is a question whether a cook cannot poison the guest by magnetizing the food with hatred. And I have my little note off the side. Love is the most important ingredient. And I just had this discussion with we had an intern today of falling in love with chiropractic. Nothing, when you see people really getting lost, it's because they've never gotten really the love of chiropractic and fallen in love with chiropractic. And this reminds me of Dr. Sid's talk. If you guys have ever heard of it, talk about the frying pans and falling in love with the frying pans when he was selling door-to-door frying pans at Palmer. And it wasn't until he fell in love with them.
D.D. Umber, he and D.D. used to sell pots and pans door to door.
That's right. That's right. What do you guys think?
I think that, I think the challenge is to help other chiropractors understand the deeper issues involved here, the bigness of chiropractic, how big the innate intelligence and universal intelligence are, as far as, and once you understand that, it how can you not share that and transmit it and live it as your life?
It's so big, it's ununderstandable in reality.
Correct. It's hard. It's a big concept to grasp, and it's not always easy to grasp. Right. Once you begin to grasp it, it gives you
Barry, you're up.
Yeah, I'm on the same wavelength as Alan here, because I wasn't reading, I was listening, and I really got the magnetizing the food. He's talking about a spirit involved in the work and comparing it to somebody in the back of a kitchen, just, in front of, the pan, the table back then, the butcher block, and not having that interaction of spirit. And this is the bigness of the universal intelligence that he was in touch with. And here he is expressing this in spirit in everyday life and commerce, per se, back then.
It's a proverb, right? It's in one of the proverbs. We read the proverbs, every day as it relates to the day of the month. I can't think of which one it is, but they talk about, people eating the food at the table of stingy people or something like that. But, it's same with our adjustment. We are filling it with love. Carl Parker, used to teach, I heard it from Sigafus, of, take a button off your shirt, stick it on the wall. When you walk in the office, you tap that love button. And I get love buttons made up in the office. And, we flood every molecule of the chairs, the air that we breathe, we flood that with love. Put the golden letters of love and God on every molecule and have that flow around the earth. And, that abundance, that's what we're serving, is that love. I love that person enough to adjust them. Think about that.
Yeah. And, this is This was written in 1910, 1914. So this is 20 years of him already being a magnetic healer before he became a chiropractor. Well, he was a magnetic healer less than that, but year-wise, when he started magnetic healing and when this was written, he's already been in touch. He's already been in tune, and he's writing and expressing it to us here. He has that. He's on that level of consciousness and communication with the signals from the universe, and transferring that into the spiritual physical body and expressing that.
This is really the first time he really mentions anything about love in service, and really all he says is really their cooks have no loving interest, right? Nothing outside of monetary value. And, in a way, Arnaud Brunier is the one that really started saying, he called the cafe of life. And we're ultimately like a restaurant. You have the back of the house. And I even use this analogy, you make one good pizza one time, you have to be able to repeat that over and over again, no matter how great the service is in the front of the house. You've got to be serving a good meal in the back of the house too. And how important it is for us to, truly love what we're doing and serve it through us, because it's not from us, it's through us.
It's something you just said keyed me, and I think that applies to this very well. And we have to be careful that when you make that good pizza, it can't become rote. I'm just putting the same pieces together, because it won't come out the same. There's something else there. And when we adjust people, it can't become, I'm an expert, I know what I'm doing, I saw the leg moved and I'm adjusting this bone. That's not what we do. We have to be, there's something else involved there. And if we just make it mechanical, it loses that something special that makes it different. And I think that may be part of what he's talking about here.
Absolutely, I think he is.
That you can't, it's not just, going and doing a job in the kitchen and cranking out the food because they're paying me to do the job. I'm not just cranking out these adjustments because I know, I see this, I do that, I see this, I do that. The mechanical adjustment, that's not what I did in my office. I know it's not what you guys do in your office. It's not just what I saw on the x-ray or what I saw the leg check tell me. There's something else that tells me that that's actually where that adjustment has to happen. And then I give the adjustment. And I find the correct, it's, the bone, the angle, but then I used to do pressure testing and feel and to find the exact angle I wanted to put a force in. And there's a difference between just saying this is what it is and this is what I got to do. And that's special, right. Something that makes it a good adjustment.
We were talking today about instrument adjusting. And, you can have, just being a technician, I'll tell you a story about my father. My father was internal medicine, and he went to medical school in like the 1940s or something. And when he was dying, he was at Sloan Kettering in Manhattan. And he said, there is no such thing as a doctor any longer. They're just technicians. And in chiropractic, we kind of like, hey, I'm a great technician. But a technician to me is very lowly, right? That's just, okay, press a button, A plus B equals C. So I'm going to push here, like you're saying, Alan, and not making technicians, but we need to work towards mastery and really mastering chiropractic, the delivery of it, the understanding of it, the philosophy, the science, the art. And that's truly loving it enough, and loving, because it's not for me, it's because of the denizens of the earth. The people truly need it. And, love is the most important ingredient. Sometimes it's hard when people are, smelly, or, I adjust homeless people quite often, actually. And, it's not always easy, but you love them. And if it's just monetary return, early in my chiropractic career, I've heard we used to go to free, workshops by coaches, like, come and see it, and they want you to join up. I would just go for a freebie. And, I have one guy who was like, how many adjustments does it take you to buy a new car? And think about the adjustments to do this. It's like, wow, that's the worst thing I would tell anybody ever to do. Let it go. And sometimes when you're, especially like early in practice, like, wow, where did all that come from? Because you're serving at such a level. And then wealth is the byproduct of that service. To count adjustments to your betterment or whatever, to buy your new car or your house or whatever, I think is, it's crossing the service hand and the business hand. They can't know each other, right? So, I love this statement. I wrote this down. I wrote my notes in here. This was like from 6 years ago, from this one paragraph. I think is one of the ones that changed my life the most from Didi and made me really, really want to study him more because of this. And because this is poignant in anything. And somebody was just posted somewhere about, I think it was on the chiropractic history page, about give me some positive quotes or something from Didi Palmer or BJ or metaphysical or something, and self-help ones. I think this should be one of those paragraphs, right?
This is Didi connecting us with what he's already experienced as an adult, as a magnetic healer, and now the birth of chiropractic. He's really expressing this. And for those chiropractors who are listening to this, I'm looking at this as, and just like Haig just mentioned, this really changed his life. So if you're out there, doing the flying sevens, pounding away, adding machines, and you feel lost and not connected, and connected with your practice members, patients, clients, whatever you call them, tune into this. Listen to this, read this. This is extremely powerful. It really is. It gets you reconnected. And if you know the history of Didi being a magnetic healer and how popular magnetic healers were in the late 1800s, magnetic healers were the healers of the time.
That's true.
The doctors, like your father was saying, doctors then too were technicians. They were taking stuff out, and they were, giving people, as far as liquids as medicine, but they were cutting things off and just taking them out. It was farm. It was barbaric.
Yeah. It was. And, but there was still, it wasn't just, okay, let's follow this, do that. It was experimentation. Now, what he was really saying is that, if you just follow A plus B equals C, then you don't have, anybody can do that, right? And, when I see this, it's all about that love and caring, and you've got to care about your patients. And the line before it, Mason, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. We're on page 255 in Didi's 1910 at the bottom. The doctor who has no patience loses none. And that could be patience in, our own personal, how we have patience for, for the world, and then patience to serve. And look, if you don't have any patience, you don't lose any. And I thought that was poignant as well. He doesn't have little puns like that around very often, but I think that was pretty interesting. Go ahead.
As I say, we'll get to this in a few pages, but I'm going to skip ahead and just say that actually just a few pages forward, he talks about.
Hold on. Don't skip. We're not going to do it.
All right. It just applies to what we're talking about.
Let's save it. Savor it. You'll love it even more. You'll put more love in it. Because we're following a pattern, right? Let's follow.
All right.
I did want to mention before I got off topic about adjusting with an instrument, because it's not adjusting from the instrument, it's adjusting through the instrument. That's right. A difference between a technician and really a skilled artisan, a chiropractor adjusting with an instrument. It's not the instrument itself, you're serving through it. Am I correct? I mean, would you guys?
I used primarily, I used activator, and then I was using torque release, and I used the integrator instrument. But, actually I actually took a seminar with Van Rumpt and learned, and my first chiropractor was a Van Rumpt DNFT practitioner, directional non-force. And so I learned to thumb toggle and do that adjust. And so I used the instrument but the thumb toggle was where it came from, and I don't know if you know the story of activator, but Arlen Four was a DNFT practitioner, and he was seeing so many people that the thumb thrust, you're thrusting and your elbows are snapping. And he was seeing so many people that he'd get home at night and have to soak his elbows in buckets of ice water. And so that's what the progenitor of the activator was because he wanted to find something so he wasn't ruining his arms, and he could see the practice volume that he wanted to see and help people out.
Would you agree, though, the adjustment it's through the tool,
Yes.
it is not from the tool?
Absolutely. It was always a matter of finding, for me, and I think Barry, you may use an instrument as well for your upper cervical, I'm not sure, but you're using a knee chest, don't you?
So I'm strictly knee chest, yeah. And I wasn't part of this conversation earlier, so I'm sort of out of context, so I'm jumping in with where you guys are. Yeah.
But the instrument was always, I always found the line of drive that I was looking for, and then worked through the instrument. Yes.
That's it, through the instrument. That's what we're looking for. Absolutely.
So
I'm on page 256. Go ahead.
yeah, so I'll say this, the true history back in the early 1900s when it was established, particularly 1906, because we're thinking of also our forefathers and peoples in 40s and 50s. The true definition was by hand only, and it didn't take away from using something, because we see the green books with the pallet, the mortar, the other things. Chiropractors were using those then. It was not to be a scalpel or to cut out. That was the true difference between medicine and chiropractic. So it's through the instrument. The true history is you can actually have an instrument.
Good. I like that. Thank you. All right. We're at 256 at the bottom paragraph. Okay. And I have unprincipled shysters written in my side note here. And I love this paragraph right now. When chiropractic was an infant, I jealously watched it develop, its development and growth. But there came a time when unprincipled shysters tried to change its principles. There are many claiming to practice chiropractic who know but little of it as a science. And that's absolutely positively true right now, probably magnified exponentially. What do you guys feel?
Enough said.
Enough said. Enough said. I mean, I love, we were talking today, I was showing this young guy a toggle. He'd never toggled before. He came from Logan in St. Louis. And so we started at 0 in toggle. And, ultimately, this is I learned from Clarence Jensen, who was at Clearview, learned from BJ himself. And, I've slightly modified some things a little bit for myself, but ultimately, we're taking that back all the way to BJ Palmer. We did find some spaces in here in earlier readings where DD was talking about basically a toggle, a head to the side, sort of knee chest toggle, and with a closed fist is how they would adjust with the pisiform, is how DD described it. And he said, we don't adjust with the closed fist anymore, but the head to the side for the Atlas on their side is how they would adjust it. I thought it was amazing. I got to find that page again, but it was in one of our readings not long ago. But, these unprincipled shysters, trying to take away what chiropractic is. Someone just posted, I think it was McCoy, just posted something about, how the schools are pushing out anything with innate intelligence, anything with like subluxation. It's the shysters have actually taken over chiropractic right now, and they're in control of the CCE, the NBCE, everything, and all the stuff that's happening in Europe. When are we going to stop being so lackadaisical about those things? Go out and serve. We got to teach. We've got to teach young chiropractors and got to bring them upright. And I realize, having students that don't come from the schools that I normally go to, that, they're taught those things to be as correct. And it is very hard pill to swallow. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, so I'm going to chime in, being a Logan grad. Luckily, it was called Logan College of Chiropractic when I was there. But short story on that, I was blessed to be off campus here, Dr. Kell, and he touched my neck and that changed it. And the whole throughout school, I was like, this isn't chiropractic. This isn't chiropractic. This is the technical aspect. This is the diagnostic. It wasn't the art. It wasn't the philosophy behind it. So to jump on this love and this DD and the conversation we're having, I ran across an article today, 1897, the Democrat from Davenport had an article on D.D. Palmer. He was there for already 9 years practicing in the Tri-Cities. He had 42 rooms rented out. 42 rooms. He's not going in just fixing luxated feet. He's going in as an energy healer, as a magnetic healer. So this person has charm, has connection, has energy. And the techniques of the adjustment where we're physically touching the body, a lot of those techniques also came from the magnetic healer and their motions, some of it similar to like Qigong and other things, in modern society. So this is a very powerful man. 1897 had 42 rooms, taking care of people.
I
Just
did
as a
not
point
know.
of
How cool
reference,
is that? Go
as a
ahead.
point of reference, Qigong is much older than chiropractic.
Sure.
Okay, got it. Yes.
Sure, but
When I learned about it,
I want to go room to room and adjusting people 42 rooms. How cool is that? I mean, I want that DD high volume. I've never heard that story before.
And also when he started the school in the 1900s, the people coming in, like the first graduates, were also medical doctors and females, which is great too. And he came from being a fish salesman to a magnetic healer to chiropractic. A lot of those other students and other people, these shysters, so he's calling, were, now I'm going to say this, children of medical doctors, of government, they were coming in to learn the other things for the most part. They weren't as connected and charismatic and magnetic as D.D. Palmer was.
Yeah. And how could you be in reality? But yeah, that's interesting insight. I like that. Thank you. Should we read this next one?
Sure. Where are we going?
257. Chiropractic Science. Preface 7. Rationally explained the luxation fad, eliminated, and shown why. And he says, all right, friend Davis. So this must be a quote from Davis.
That was a quote from Davis, yeah.
Perhaps you know more about this science than the man who created it, or the 2,000 or more practitioners who are daily adjusting, moving vertebra. They know by the sense of feeling that they do move. They know by the contour of the spine that vertebra are not in line. By using the processes as levers, they know that they rack them back and into their former position. An examination shows by the sense of sight and feeling that the outline of the spinous processes have been changed by adjustment. The sense of feeling thus confirms that of sight and hearing. The testimony of these senses is sufficient to convict you of ignorance or willful misrepresentation. The patient's sense of feeling also corroborates the knowledge of the adjuster. So, it's one of those things of, what do they call that? Evidence-based. Look, the evidence is right here. Obviously, this just changed. This person changed. You can see it in palpation. It's visual. We have fact that there is physiological change. So it didn't start a couple of years ago when everybody's talking evidence-based. It's basically what Dee was talking about through all these chapters. And part of the reason we skipped a lot of this, because it was redundant of proving it over and over again. What do you guys feel? We can move on from this too. So Gustav Nock, an anatomist who has many years of experience in preparation of skeletons and vertebral columns, says under date of December 26, 1909, and this is quote, in my long experiences in practical work, I do not relocate to to have seen one spinal
Recollect.
column. What?
Recollect, remember.
Well, thank you. Recollect. You're exactly right. I do not recollect. What did I say? Do not recollect
Not,
to have been,
not that.
whatever it was. Anyway, to have seen one spinal column without any curvature in one place or another, Dr. Davis would have a good time eliminating the luxated fad from the man who has handled 1,000 vertebral columns in the recent state to his one. You know, he's just saying, leave me alone, you big jerk. I know much more than you do, and I've done, master has failed more than the novice has tried, right? All right.
You know, I can totally see BJ here as well, because DD is responding to AP Davis, and the majority of green books are BJ. BJ does this all the time. And then DD had collection of antlers, and he had special horses, squirrels, you know, he collected animals. And we think in modern chiropractic, being this 1900s, we have the spinal collection at the Palmer Museum. And here's his father. And I'm like, this is, yeah, I read this about BJ too. Look at his dad. Here's his dad doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a one little spot here, because he's just repeating page 107, and he goes back around on page 258. It starts, if the above statements are true, over 2,000 chiropractors, 5,000 osteopaths, and thousands of patients are deceived. They have a morbid mental conception. Chiropractors and bony lesion osteopaths hear that. Your mental conception of luxated vertebra is conceived by a diseased brain. Does not Dr. Davis need an atlas adjustment? I love it. I love it. So that's right in the middle. Again, he goes through, he's going through quotes. Now, doctor, you talk, and I'm skipping just through a quote. Now, doctor, you talk chiropractic. The spinous processes are found to deviate at the foramen from which the nerves emanate, which go to the part diseased. Contracted muscles attach to the spinous processes, incline the bone into the direction of contracture. A sudden movement and adjustment is that particularly locality relieves the contracted muscles. Now you're all right. Stay right there. Your book eliminates the luxated fad. So he's going through a lot of this. He's going through the pages of that person. So I'm not going to read all those pages. And he's just rebutting page to page of this dude's book. Okay.
I go to 260.
Yeah, that's where I go to.
Okay.
And you want to read from there? Where do you
Sure.
have it from?
I have one simple movement.
Yep, that's where I am too.
So on page 260, he says, one simple movement known as adjusting at the particular spot designated, replacing a displaced vertebra, often produces an entire change from a diseased condition to that of health. Chiropractic adjusting is done regardless of uniting or separating the two forces of neuropathy. Thousands of osteopaths and chiropractors are doing good work who know nothing of the neuropathic, positive and negative forces, and who are not able to designate what organs secrete acids or alkali. Chiropractors should be specific, making one simple movement in the spine at one particular spot and in the right direction. This is true in regard to 24 vertebrae, which by their displacement may impinge upon any one of the 62 bundles of nerves which emerge from the spinal foramina. Instead of being 31 such places, there are 24. The nerves are not always paired as are the foramina. While nerves pass out from the left and right foramina of the dorsal respectively for the left and right lungs, and also for the dorsal respectively for the left and right lungs, and also for the kidneys, the innervating nerves destined for the stomach, spleen, and heart are supplied from the left side, and those from the liver and pancreas from the right. The nerves destined for the throat and eyeball proceed from the right side. The adjusting must be done accordingly. Do not forget that there are 24 bones from the atlas to the last lumbar, where adjustments may be made with astonishing results, providing the vertebrae are moved in the right direction to relieve the impingement.
Well, that says it all right there. That's a great place to end, really. And what do you guys feel? Steve Shargell.
I came in just in time to hear that. Beautiful.
Yep, praise it, praise it. Good job. Go ahead, Barry.
So what's interesting, at the very beginning, he's talking about the forces, and he unites, he says the osteopaths and chiropractors are doing good work. It's the first time I've ever heard chiropractic and osteopaths together in a green book, as far as I know. And he's actually putting us against the neuropaths. And they knew it was energy, but it was not the alkali and acids. And then you really notice how amazingly educated D.D. Palmer is, a man of his age, a man of these times, a farm boy from Canada that came to Iowa as a grocery store fish peddler, and he is explaining spinal anatomy literally to a T. This is impressive.
Well, that's it. I mean, all the stuff that we've been skipping is a lot of it is discussions by medical doctors and medical books. And it was fascinating to me is to read this stuff and say what they knew and what they didn't know at that time, right, when this was written. But he's refuting and saying, you guys have you've done all this stuff, but you're missing something. That I've got something different going that I'm seeing from what you're telling me. Yeah, the science is important. He's saying the science, some of your science is really good, but it's not all right yet. There's still stuff. There's something else going on here.
Yeah, and the structure, and there's some electricity involved, because the osteopaths and the chiropractors are correcting that. The neuropaths aren't.
And the amount of his study is amazing. And like Alan just said, a lot of this is refuting or from his studies, where he's learning and trying to find what he has seen. So he's really breaking new ground.
He cites one book printed by Williams and Wilkins all the way back then. I mean, we used textbooks by them when we were in school later on.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was extremely educated, extremely.
Yeah, very well versed, and he could stand toe to toe with any of them. Absolutely. And just where you're talking about the naturopaths or the osteopaths, he did mention it just before that, of really people doing this work. What the heck do you know, guy? And these we're out there taking care of people, getting them better, and you're refuting this. And look at the evidence. And he is standing up for the naturopath as well, which I think was very interesting. I'm glad you pointed that point out.
And osteopaths, I don't know about naturopaths.
Pardon?
Osteopaths, not naturopaths, I don't think.
Yeah, I corrected myself. I think I did. Well, yes. Gentlemen, it's been a great evening. We got a lot going on here. We're going to keep going this way for a little while. What do you guys think? We should stay with DD for a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And we're just going to kind of move around. And if you do have some areas where you feel like we should skip, and just send me a message. I skimmed through these. I'm running to, I've got about another 150 pages of for my outline, which we can burn through fast. But if you see some things, Alan, you give me some good input, and Barry. So, we'll work through this to make it digestible is the whole idea. If we just read page to page, it would be a little bit more mind numbing. So we're taking a lot of that out for everybody on this, which is useful. And what I'd like to do, we'll put this.
But that's not to say that let's not to pass on over that entirely. That's not to say that people given the opportunity shouldn't get a copy and read this book.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, we're doing essences to discuss it, but it's very interesting to read what he's responding to and what the other doctors are saying at that time and why he is holding the positions that he does that we're bringing out for you as we're skipping around on this text. It's
Absolutely
still
right.
very valuable to go and read all these textbooks, all the green books that you can get your hands on. There's
Absolutely right.
valuable information in all of them, and this one certainly.
Absolutely right. Well, gentlemen, folks, people, it has been an awesome night, and I appreciate it. And Steve, it's good to see you. It's high pie, my brother. All right. There we go. And so we're going to be back in next week, and we're at least at page 261. I'm going to read through this. We'll pick out some gems for sure, and we'll be back same bat time, same bat channel next week on Tuesday. All right. Blessings, joy, love, and peace to all of you.
Love and appreciate you all.
Love and
Back
appreciate
at
you.
you. Back
Good
at
night.
you all.